Hey guys, it's Chris and I'm back with another Witcher video, this time the season finale to Season 1, The Witcher Episode 8, Much More. And this was an outstanding episode. Everything came together, the timelines merged, all that good stuff. And there was some really cool shout outs to Game of Thrones. And first, let me say this video is brought to you by my outstanding Patreons. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. I really appreciate it. You guys keep this channel going through this new YouTube algorithm. And I will say thank you guys so much for the new subscribers, new support, all that stuff coming in. So please keep in mind for your favorite creator and other independent creators to watch the videos as long as possible, all the way to the end if you can. Watch multiple videos if you possibly can, but be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All that engagement really helps with the YouTube algorithm. So anyway, let's jump right into The Witcher Episode 8, Much More. And they've been pulling from many different stories, including the actual novels, but mainly the short stories in this first season. And this one pulled from a really, really good short story called Something More from the short story book, Sword of Destiny. So this is where Geralt finally meets Ciri proper for the first time, I should say. They kind of skipped all that and shortened it just a bit. But a really, really good episode where all the timelines converge. So we see Geralt fighting some monsters in the beginning. These were actually, I believe, ghouls. I don't think they actually specifically stated that, but this is one type of monster in a class called the necrophage, and they're basically corpse eaters. So that's exactly why I figured they were ghouls. There are a couple more similar types of monsters like that in this world, but I think that's the most common. The point is here that the guy Geralt saves was actually Yoren from the Night's Watch in Game of Thrones, and he gave a definitive shout out. There's a couple in this episode we'll talk about, but he gave it a definitive shout out to Game of Thrones when he was trying to drag all the bodies around from the battlefield. But he specifically says that they were a feast for crows, which of course, if you're not familiar with Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire, that is the fourth book in the series, and it was also said by Ramsay Bolton back in Game of Thrones Season 6. We flash over to Ciri waking up. She doesn't really know what happened, but she took care of the old friends of hers who she played Knucklebones with back in town, back in Cintra. She don't really know what happened, but obviously she did something to wipe them out, all of them. Wipe them out, all of them. But the point is here is the lady that she stole the horse from in the first place actually came and rescued her anyway, and that comes back into play in the end of the story, as it does in the short story Something More. I really dug the intro this time. We didn't really know what was going on with the intros. They were showing the different symbols, etc. every time an episode came on. So they all came together to form the main symbol you'll see throughout The Witcher, and that was the three symbols of Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri. That would be the wolf for Geralt, the swallow for Ciri, as well as the obsidian star for Yennefer, and I'll quickly go through and explain what each of those mean. So first, of course, you have the wolf representing Geralt. In the Elder Speech, this is called the Gwynblade or Gwynblade. I'm not exactly sure how that's pronounced, so somebody help me out in the comments. Again, means Geralt the White Wolf. That's what they call him, being the white-haired witcher from the wolf school, Kaer Morhen. And then we have the Swallow of Ciri, because Cirella's actual name in the Elder Speech is Zerial, and that translates in the common tongue to swallow, so the swallow is the symbol of Ciri. And then you have the obsidian star of Yennefer. Now in the books, I don't think it's specifically stated what this actually means. All I know is that she's often seen grasping this necklace she has around her neck when she speaks, so some think it may be a source of her power. So I just wanted to throw that in there really quickly about those three symbols. Some of you may have been wondering what those were when you saw the original logo for The Witcher, all the trailers, etc., what those mean. And the idea, of course, is they're all in a circle because their destinies are intertwined, which again is a major theme throughout this series and definitely this episode. I really dug in this episode how Yennefer got down and dirty in the magical battle. I thought we saw some pretty cool magic in this episode. This is when the Nilfgaard are heading up north, of course, after the fall of Cintra. And it was one cool line they put in there that was a really nice touch. They didn't have to do this, but when she helped the woman make the arrows, she made the feathers out of magic. She told the woman, "It's magic, it's not real." And of course, what she was thinking about was her and Geralt's love after the previous episode when she found out about the last wish and said it's all fake, it's all based off magic. And Geralt was like, no, it's real, when we saw their first real big time breakup. I thought it was nice that they added in Yennefer meeting Triss one more time. Again, we saw that last episode, but then they have a little conversation this time. And Triss actually tells Yennefer that she helped stop a Striga, which we saw in the previous episode, and that she stopped the Striga with the help of a witcher that she hired. And of course, she thought about Geralt too and said, you might want to stay away from his kind. They're just disappointing. But Yennefer's whole thing right now is about her legacy, what she can leave behind, basically saying, kind of following her theme of what she wants right now, is that she has no family and she has no kids to leave behind and pass on some sort of legacy. So again, the whole theme of destiny comes into play. And that destiny may have something to do with a white wolf and a swallow. We had another great reference to Game of Thrones, again by the guy who played Yoren from Game of Thrones. And remember, in Game of Thrones, he was in the Night's Watch, and as he was trying to rescue Geralt, he was trying to keep him awake, keep him alive, and he said, "You're not going to die on me," and specifically said, "Not on my watch." So hopefully some of you Game of Thrones fans caught those two big shout outs to Game of Thrones. I had thought in a previous episode they did when Calanthea threw herself out the window Tommen style. That happened the same way in the books, but the way they specifically shot that in that episode where she did the Tommen out the window in King's Landing, I think was another little shout out to Game of Thrones as well. But it's really cool to see Yoren in this show, and specifically shout out Game of Thrones as an old brother of the Night's Watch. We see Geralt kind of going in and out of consciousness as he's trying to heal up from this bite from the ghoul. And of course, those ended up being kind of visions or flashbacks of his actual childhood. So the sorceress who came upon him on the road, again, some kind of destiny thing that helped him heal, ended up being his mother. This was the girl who dropped him off originally as a child, as you saw in the flashback, and left him to Vesemir to become a Witcher. And of course, he wants to know why. He kind of goes through the whole spiel about, do you know what they do to these kids? Do you know how I got my eyes? I really like how he said to her, "Do you like my eyes?" And it pretty much goes down the same way it does in the short stories. He doesn't really get the answer he wants. It's too painful for both of them, but it ends up being all about destiny, and somehow she was in the right place at the right time to save him so he could go on and meet and save Ciri. I gotta say really quickly, still, I don't like the Nilfgaard armor still. I know a lot of people have complained about it. I mean, it's okay, but it does actually look like a ball sack. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that really quickly. I meant to say that a few episodes back, but I really noticed it this time when it was a lot clearer during the daylight, all that good stuff. So just saying, I thought the magic was pretty good in this episode. I was kind of worried about the whole magic thing in here. You know, again, this being a little bit more magic-y than A Song of Ice and Fire. And you won't see that type of thing all the time, but I thought the effects looked pretty decent for this kind of magic. Again, I have not liked the creatures in this show so far, definitely the monsters. I thought the ghouls looked okay. They didn't look bad at all compared to the previous monsters, just in my opinion. But I thought the magic looked really good. It was really cool. So this was a little bit different than your typical standard sword versus sword type of battlefield battle, although there were some of that, obviously. But it's pretty cool to see the sorcerers going back and forth. And Yennefer finally lets it loose, lets her chaos reign, so to speak. She basically took in the fire, whatever, from the city that was burning, and then used that out of her own hands to burn the rest of the Nilfgaard army. I thought that was pretty damn cool, actually. It damn sure looked better than the Golden Dragon in the previous episode. And what's really cool about this story is Geralt's kind of seen Ciri before, and he didn't really want to take her anytime, but he cannot avoid this whole destiny thing that he says he does not believe in. And this is the same way it happens in the books. Yoren, who actually saved his life, ends up going to his home, and it just so happens that his wife is the woman who actually saved Ciri and brought her back to her house. And of course, you heard Yoren say previously before they got there that I claim the law of surprise because Geralt saved his life from the ghouls, something that he doesn't know he has. And of course, he goes home and finds out that his wife has taken in this girl from the war, and it actually ends up being Ciri herself. She had obviously heard Geralt in some kind of vision thing, screaming for Yennefer and all that good stuff. He knows there's something up. He knows she's near. This destiny thing keeps coming up, keeps getting kind of thrown in his face, including the whole thing with his mother and his backstory. And then he goes in the woods, and Ciri actually comes to him and finds him, and they hug like they've known each other for a long time. And I thought that was pretty damn cool. He mentions destiny, and the first real question she asks is, who is Yennefer? So that puts a nice little bow on it for the final episode of season 1 as far as getting the timelines all together. And it fits nicely with the whole, holy trinity, so to speak, of Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer, possibly all coming together in the future. So anyway, overall, really great episode, a really good season. I'm pretty impressed with Netflix, The Witcher, season 1. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed The Witcher as I have. Maybe we'll do like a whole entire season recap review type of thing or something in a couple of days. And for those not familiar, we did a live stream last week on my channel with Val from Because Geek. And I think this week we're going to do that on her channel on this Sunday and discuss the rest of the episodes or the entire season for that matter. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. As usual, thank you for all the support, especially you guys on Patreon, and a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers. And of course, if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and a share. And of course, be sure to subscribe to get everything and click that notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.